This video will give another example of how Roman Catholics misrepresent the so-called Church Fathers and use the writings of the Church Fathers to try and demonstrate that the early church that Jesus Christ founded was Roman Catholic by nature. Now, though not a primary authority for Romanists, some Catholics might venture to bring forth the 3rd century Church Father, Origen, as an example of a father that taught that the Apostle Peter was the rock on which Christ built his church, and that this teaching of the early fathers supposedly proves that the Bishop of Rome and the papacy is the foundation of the church. And Origen indeed states within his writings, Peter, on whom the church of Christ is built, against which the gates of hell shall not prevail. Eusebius of Caesarea also quotes Origen in this regard, referencing Origen's words as follows: Peter, on whom the church of Christ is built, against which the gates of Hades shall not prevail. Does this mean that this teaching was the accepted truth of the early church, Roman Catholics might claim? Not at all. When we consider how Origen defined and contextualized his comments within his commentary on the book of Matthew, we see an important example of how a full understanding of the Church Fathers is to be grasped before asserting what they teach. Taken in isolation, Origen's words as quoted above seem conclusive. Peter was supposedly the rock on whom Christ built his church. Yet in book 12 of his commentary on Matthew, Origen explains how that, in his opinion, every apostle qualifies as being that rock on whom Christ builds his church, as well as every Christian who confesses Christ as a Son of God, who, in his view, become a Peter, individual rocks on whom Christ builds every word of the church. Let's look at some examples from within his writing. Origen states, "And if we too have said, like Peter, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God, not as if flesh and blood had revealed it unto us, but by light from the Father in heaven having shone in our heart, we become a Peter, and to us there might be said by the word, you are Peter, etc. For a rock is every disciple of Christ, of whom those drank who drank of the spiritual rock which followed them, and upon every such rock is built every word of the church, and the polity in accordance with it. That in each of the perfect, who have the combination of words and deeds and thoughts which fill up the blessedness, is the church built by God." Origen continues, "But if you suppose that upon that one Peter only the whole church is built by God, what would you say about John, the son of thunder, or each of the apostles? Shall we otherwise dare to say that against Peter in particular the gates of Hades shall not prevail, but that they shall prevail against the other apostles and the perfect? Does not the saying previously made, the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it, hold in regard to all, and in the case of each of them? And also the saying, upon this rock I will build my church. Are the keys of the kingdom of heaven given by the Lord to Peter only, and will no other of the blessed receive them? But if this promise, I will give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, be common to the others, how shall not all the things previously spoken of, and the things which are subjoined as having been addressed to Peter, be common to them?" Again, as Origen continues his exposition, we read, "For all bear the surname of rock, who are the imitators of Christ, that is, of the spiritual rock, which followed those who are being saved, that they may drink from it the spiritual draught. But these bear the surname of the rock just as Christ does, but also as members of Christ, deriving their surname from him, they are called Christians, and from the rock, Peters." Now, of course, as Bible believers, we don't agree with a lot of that which Origen teaches. This video serves as an example of how the selective quoting of church fathers by Catholics works. how Catholic apologists can deceive those who know not the Church Fathers by quoting from the Fathers in isolation without disclosing the fuller context. Taking a snippet from Origen about Peter as the rock upon whom Christ built his church can be used by Catholics to try and prove the papacy until the broader context from within Origen's commentaries are scrutinised and his position is more clearly defined. This happens all the time, and I will endeavour to show numerous examples in future videos of how Catholic apologists do this. It is dishonest. The Church Fathers differ widely amongst each other in their scriptural opinions, and certainly do not support distinctive Roman Catholic doctrine, neither reveal the early Church as being in accord with Roman Catholicism. Do not fall for the deceit of how Romanists misuse and wield the so-called early Church Fathers.